the very, very warmest of welcomes to the video series. My name's Andy Cope, in fact, Dr. Andy Cope, and I'm delighted, excited, and I think more than anything, I'm honoured. The t-shirt gives you a big clue what I want to talk about today. I'm honoured that not only to be presenting this video series, but honoured that somebody in your school has thought that this is important enough for you to listen to. So, is it important enough? Why should you listen? If I was sitting where you're sitting, I would be asking, why do I listen to you? Well, let me introduce myself. Oh, by the way, before I introduce myself, this is a proper video with a green screen. Should we not have somebody shouting, and action? And action. Thank you, director. That makes me feel a whole lot better. I have a double life, okay? So it's a very bizarre life that I have. So I write children's books. So if you've got children between the ages of about 7 and 11, I'm wildly famous. I'm the author of the series called Spy Dog and Spy Pups, and in fact now Spy Cat as well. Sold 1 million copies all over the world, blah, blah, woof, woof, fantastic. However, that's not really what I do. What I really do is the t-shirt stuff. I have, for the last 12 years, I've been doing the longest PhD in the history of PhDs. At Loughborough University, I've been researching a subject called positive psychology, which is essentially the science of happiness, the science of well-being, and the science of feeling good. So my job as a researcher has been to seek out happy people and follow them around. And this series essentially is about taking the very best bits of what I know and trying to translate it so that it actually gives you things that are doable and worth thinking about. Am I going to be word perfect? I think I need to admit right at the start that I'm not aiming to be word perfect. My life isn't word perfect. When I deliver my courses, they're not word perfect. Your lessons aren't either. I'm not a trained presenter. However, I know some stuff and I've got enough passion and enthusiasm. So if I get the words wrong, then I don't want the crew to be editing it in and editing it out. I want to just go with the flow. So the format is me and it's you and it's the crew. Hi, crew. Hey, it's like the cast of Ben-Hur behind the scenes here. Cast of thousands. 5 sections for the video. Each video is going to be around about 15 minutes long. And I thought what we'd do, you maybe have to be a certain age to get this reference. But if you remember Sesame Street, I was a big fan of Sesame Street. And Sesame Street was always brought to you by a letter or a number. So, you know, typically today's episode is brought to you by the letter P. And I thought, well, I'm going to do something similar, except I'm going to introduce a new word to you in every single video. So today's word, this is brilliant thinking, brought to you in association with the word sonder. And sonder, as you can see, is the realization that each passerby is living a life as complex as your own. Now just have a think about that for a second, because that's a bit of a penny dropper for me. I used to think that it was just me who had the insecurities and the panic and the stresses in my life and the worries. And then I realised that everybody else does as well. So what I want to do is really challenge that in this first session called Brilliant Thinking. So what the session, we're going to start with a word, there will be a story, and maybe it's some theory, maybe some top tips on how to feel amazing, stuff to think about, and more than anything else, I want to give you some stuff to take away from these sessions, and I'm going to give you homework. I'm actually going to give teachers homework. That, for me, is the best bit. Okay, so first up, a story. And do you know what? I'm going to try and challenge you in these videos. So I'm going to challenge myself with this story. This is a story that I've been a trainer for about 10 years, delivering lots of sessions around the world, and I've only told this story once to one audience 8 years ago, and I never finished the story. So I'm going to take a gamble. We're going to go with Jimmy's Diary, okay? So fingers crossed. I know the team's got the fingers crossed for me as well. Jimmy's Diary. So just go with me, folks. Go with me. I want you to imagine a scene where there's an old guy and he's in a house, quite a big house, but he's on his own and he's up in the attic. And the scene would be that he's flicked the light on, there's a bulb, there's some light coming in from the windows, it's in the attic, it's cobwebby, it's dusty, and he's on his own. So his wife has passed away and his children are grown up and they've moved out. And he's gone into the attic on a mission to find a picture of his wife from a few years ago, and it's that picture. It's that picture where it's a black and white picture and she had that smile and he's after that picture. So there's piles of boxes and crates everywhere. He's looking through the old photo albums. And you know what it's like when you look through the photo albums. You get lost in the memories. So he's sitting down, he's looking through the photo albums, and he's got a wry smile on his face and also kind of quite a melancholy feeling because these are times gone by. Times gone by. And he pulls from one of the photo albums, he pulls a diary, and it's Jimmy's diary. So it's the diary of his son when his son was 7 years old. And it's got Jimmy's diary written in, it's a scrawly sort of homemade diary. It's Jimmy's diary in crayon on the front with a stick picture of Jimmy, 7-year-old diary. So he sits down and he opens Jimmy's diary. And Jimmy's diary is chock-a-block full of stories that you would think that you would have when you were 7. So it's arguments with his teenage sister, it's his favourite lessons at school, it's the stuff he did with his mates, it's the football matches. And there's a wry smile. And then he thinks, Jimmy's story and Jimmy's year doesn't tally with his own recollection of the same time, but he had a diary, the old man had a diary of about the same time, so he says, I'm going to go and look at my diary. So he takes Jimmy's diary, he goes down the stairs, he's not sure what's creaking more, his knees or the stairs. He goes into his office downstairs, he opens the glass cabinet, and there's his diary from the same time. And this is a big business diary, leather bound, embossed with his name on the front and the year. And he turns to his own diary from the same time and he marvels at how busy he was. Every single day is crammed with appointments and with meetings and with notes from meetings and meetings about meetings and phone calls he was going to have to make. And it even spilled into the evenings and into the weekends. And yet there was one day, But there was one day that was different from all the other entries. So on a Saturday, on June the 23rd, the old man had looked at his diary and he'd wrote in it, wasted a day, went fishing with Jimmy, didn't catch a thing. So with a slightly trembling hand, he looks at Jimmy's diary. Remember, frayed, old, curling up at the edges, with Jimmy's writing embossed on the front. He licks his finger, he went to June the 23rd, and there was an entry in Jimmy's diary, etched in Spider-Man writing. It said, went fishing with my dad, best day of my life. And that, I think, that's a challenging story for me to tell. But what I'm trying to make a point here is that I think that in 30 years or in 40 years or in 50 years, when we're sitting in our armchairs in our care homes and we're reflecting back on our lives, then I think that we'll look back today at our working lives, at being a teacher or whatever job you do in a school. I think that we'll look back on these as the good old days. So it doesn't make any sense to me as a positive psychology researcher. It makes no sense to be waiting 40 years to look back and to enjoy today. It makes more sense to learn to enjoy today. And so to Yorkshire. Okay, as a children's author, I was doing a visit in Halifax, and clearly the schools had clubbed together. There were about 300 9-year-olds in the room. So Spy Dog. So I've actually got a dog, Spy Dog. She comes with me. I come on stage. Lots of children in the room and they go wild for the dog. I've learned that. Okay, so I calmed them down and I said, okay, kids, before we start, before I introduce the dog and before I introduce myself, I've got a statistic for you. I said, the average lifespan in this hall is 4,000 weeks. And these 9-year-olds, they went ballistic. They were leaping around the hall going, yeah, that's fantastic, Andy. That's like brilliant news. Thanks for sharing that. That's so wonderful. Thank you. So I thought we'd start with the same statistic today. So the average lifespan for the people listening to this video is also 4,000 weeks. Now, if you announce that to an adult audience, there's generally less punching of the air and less leaping around the room, and more of a collective sigh or a gulp or even some nervous laughter. Because, well, we've used a few. It's not a massive number. And I guess ultimately, once again, I don't want to keep hammering the point, but it is such an important point that these videos, I do want there to be a difference in the classroom. But I can't think of a better audience for this because it goes much further than the classroom. It's about being your best self on a consistent basis. And that requires a change of thinking. So let's challenge your thinking. Let's take Mondays, right? Okay, Mondays. Unless you're incredibly enlightened, you've fallen for a belief system and a way of thinking that pervades society that goes something like this. That you've learned that Mondays are bad and Fridays are good. And that's so ingrained in your thinking that you're screaming in your head, of course Mondays are bad, nobody likes Mondays. Well, let's rethink it for a second. 4,000 weeks. A seventh of your entire life is spent on Mondays. That's a massive chunk of most people's lives that they're wishing didn't exist. I think Monday's being bullied. I think we need to stand up for Mondays. What if, just to push your thinking maybe further than we need to go in part one, but what if Mondays and Fridays are completely neutral, so they're both worth a seventh of your life, and Mondays have only become bad because of the way you've learned to think about them? Everybody else hates Mondays, so you've learned to hate them as well. And what if actually, in actual fact, Mondays are awesome? And what if Friday, let's argue the other way, what if Friday is another week closer to death? But yet we're like, yay, fantastic Friday. So I want to change your thinking. And I'm not suggesting if you come in all jazz hands on Monday going, woohoo, don't those weekends drag, then that's probably too far. But I think life is a short and precious gift. It's hurtling by in a blur. Your 4,000 weeks are going by this quickly, so are mine. These videos are time out from that. Time out to rethink how we go about our thinking, and our thinking then informs our behaviours and our habits. And the key to happiness is to change your thinking. In fact, let me just give you a quick how I learned that Mondays are bad and Fridays are good. How I learned that 4,000 weeks was all I had. Nobody actually ever taught me that. So when I was 4 years old, my dad didn't ever pull up a seat and say, right, sit down, little Andy. Here's the lesson. Before you go to school, you need to know the rules. First of all, you need to know, mate, you need to know about Mondays. Nobody likes Mondays, all right? So just get them over with. They're horrible. Tuesday, not much better. Wednesday's interesting because it picks up from Wednesday lunchtime. It's downhill from Wednesday. Thursday's a bit better than Wednesday. Fridays are okay, but you have to go to work. But do you know what? They're okay because Saturday comes next. Now, mate, you don't go to school on a Saturday and you don't have to go to work on a Saturday, so you come fully alive on a Saturday. And then Sunday's all right till about 4 o'clock. Then you're going to start getting depressed again because Monday comes next. And what you're going to do, little Andy, is you're going to do that about 4,000 times and then you're going to die. Okay? That conversation never happened in my house and it didn't happen in your house because it didn't need to. Because my dad is my hero. And he would go out the door on Monday like a zombie and he would come back in on Friday like this. And I'm learning. I'm learning how to think. I'm learning the rules of engagement. He's teaching me. He's teaching me wrong, but he's teaching me. So with that rattling around in your head, what I would like to do now is I'm going to have 5 minutes off and go for a lie down after Jimmy's diary, okay? And I want you to think about some questions that are going to appear on the screen. So an activity where I want you to sit in groups. I mean, you can sit there and you can not do these activities. That will be up to you. But if you do them, you'll find them quite enlightening. And I want to pick up on these and then take you through a top tip in a second. So for 5 minutes, the 3 questions are, I want you to think about what your best ever day has been in your current job. So now don't say when it snowed and the bus never turned up, okay? I know there'll be a brilliant day. I hope every day is brilliant, but I know there'll be a brilliant day when work didn't feel like work. So when you got home at the end of the day and it's like, wow, that's why I do my job. That was an amazing day. So I want you to talk about what your best ever day at work has been. Question number 2, I want you to think about what are your biggest work challenges? Because you've got plenty. Teaching has become very fraught. It's become very stressful. So what's coming at you in your particular job in the next 6 to 12 months? And the third question is, who is the happiest person that you know? And why? So not a celebrity off the TV. You will know somebody straight away in your head who you will rate as the happiest person, either in the staff room or your family, your friends or whatever. Who's the happiest person that you know and why are they so happy? And in 5 minutes' time, if we come back to those, and then I'll take you through some more information. See you later. Okay, so welcome back. I'm hoping you've had a fruitful discussion. I would just like to pick up very quickly on that third question. I asked you to reflect on the happiest person that you know. Now, the chances are, if I was going to hazard a guess, I would say that the happiest person that you know isn't necessarily the wealthiest person that you know. So they haven't got a Ferrari on the drive or a big house in the country. In fact, you may well have picked on a child, a small child, who they seem to be happy all the time. So I'm going to pick up on that in some of the future lessons. But I want to leave you with a final thought. So unless you're incredibly enlightened, you have been missold the whole concept of happiness. So happiness has been sold to you from a very early age, like a pot of emotional gold at the end of a rainbow. So happiness is a lovely feeling, but it's over there. I need to earn it, I need to pursue it, I need to go and make it mine. And that con starts when we're tiny. So what we tell our children, because we love them, we say, if you work really hard in primary school, you'll get really good great SATs results or great grades. And when you get those great grades, guess what, kids? Then you'll be happy. And then you go to big school, and if you work really hard in year 11, you'll get A's and A stars in your GCSEs. And when you get those A's and those A stars at the end of the rainbow, guess what, kids? Then you'll be happy. Or you'll be happy, then you'll get a job and you'll have a sales target, a production target, or a school inspection target. And when you hit your target, guess what? Then you'll be happy. Or classically, you'll be happy when you're walking down the aisle with your perfect partner. So all the time, what we're doing is we're relentlessly pursuing this pot of emotional gold at the end of the rainbow. I've got to earn it and pursue it and make it mine. So what if, it's quite a big what if, but just keep your minds open. What if happiness is a fantastic feeling and we've got capacity for more of it? But what if it isn't at the far end of the rainbow? What if happiness, in fact, is at this end of the rainbow? What if it's already here, but we're just really bad at seeing it? What if it's the starting point and not the ending point? So go back through those examples. What if it's the happiest primary school kids that get the best SATs results? So what if being happy now was crucial in the learning and the growth mindsets and the motivation? What if it's the happiest year 11s that get the A's and the A stars, or the 8s and 9s as they are now are? What if being happy now, what if it's the happiest salesperson that gets the most sales? Or what if being happy now is the key to finding your perfect partner and walking down the aisle? So the huge game changer, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of happiness is, what if we've been looking in the wrong place? So in the rest of this series, what I want to do is bring it back here, back to the lessons that we can learn, strategies that we can learn to think about in our own heads that will give us a massive advantage and loads of energy. So I wanted to save the best bit of this to the end. It's homework time. I'm so excited to be setting teacher some homework. Sorry, calm down. I want you to do a tried and tested cognitive behavioural theory model that has been tested across the world. I want you to, before you go to sleep for the next week, I want you to write with a pen and paper 3 good things that have happened today. Simple. It'll take you less than a minute a day. 3 good things that have happened and why have they happened. So just pen them down and leave them by your bed. That's the last thing you do before your head hits the pillow, is 3 good things. I will see you, I'm going for a lie down, I will see you back here for part 2, where I'm going to share 12 years of my academic life. 120,000 big words makes it into a thesis like that. But you know me by now, I wouldn't do that to you. We'll simplify it and we'll give you some stuff that will change your lives. See you later.